So, here's a video I absolutely didn't think I'd be making this summer. But Carlos Baleba to Manchester United is something that is absolutely going to happen if United get what they want. Let me run through the full story of Baleba to United, what reports you can trust, and exactly what's going on. Oh, and subscribe if you're new, to keep yourself bang up to date with the latest United news. I think it's fair to say that if Manchester United signed Carlos Baleba, it will be the greatest transfer window in the history of all of football ever. Well, it would definitely be the best United window, I think, anyway. Probably the best is 2007-8 when we signed like Nani, Hargreaves, Tevez, and Anderson. But I'm going to run through the full story on Baleba to United. If you don't know what I do with these videos, I take a look at all the reports, I see what's reliable, I see how it's changed over time, and then we'll have a little conversation at the end about Baleba and about the fact that Amorim wants that athletic midfielder. Let's get into this story. Because I did this video a couple of months ago and I took a look at options, right? There was Baleba there front and centre. You can see Wharton. I spoke about Onana. I spoke about some cheaper options like Kamara. And he was number one on the list, right? And we've known all summer long that Amorim wants an athletic midfielder. So to understand that United are in for Baleba, well, it's not a surprise given the fact that we've been looking, well, we know we've been looking for a midfielder, but the fact that it's him is what's caught us off guard. And I've definitely got to start by saying, how good are Brighton, by the way? Damn. 30 million. A couple of years later, probably going to flip him for more than triple that. Same thing with Caicedo, but on an even greater scale. Let's not talk about the fact that he was recommended to United. Now, I've got to speak about IndyCar, right? Because you might not know who this person is or who this account is. It's almost been a parody account. A parody sort of in-the-know transfer guru. Not even a guru, but just somebody who was a complete parody kind of up until this summer is what people are suggesting. Or maybe the account got sold and it's got taken over. But anyway, this is what happened, right? He came out saying that United had reached out to Brighton. Everybody laughed it off. And then about an hour later, David Ornstein confirmed that United have reached out to Brighton via intermediaries. No club-to-club talks. And that's still the case right now, by the way. We're still basically trying to get this bloke to hand in a transfer request. And the funny thing is that he followed it up by basically crediting IndyCar, which has given a lot of people now, in their minds, the justification to use him as a source for any updates on Carlos Baleba. And it's really annoying me because it's just not the case, right? Don't do it to yourself. There are no personal terms agreed. I'll speak about that later. But Fabrizio followed up saying, look, United had approached Baleba's camp. Followed up again saying he hasn't closed the door to a United move. So it wasn't as if United went in there, said, do you fancy joining United? And he goes, nah, happy as Larry at Brighton. Don't want to consider a move to Manchester United. And that's sort of only strengthened over the weekend, right? Again, price-wise, it's only IndyCar who said anything about a price, 90 plus 10. I've always thought that he would be a £100 million midfielder. And I stand by that. And I think that Brighton will as well. But it's not been corroborated by anybody that we trust in terms of Ornstein or Laurie Whitwell or Simon Stone from the BBC or Fabrizio. No mention to price apart from this. And in terms of what's happened over the weekend, this is where I think it gets interesting. Because United have reached out originally last week just to test the waters, I suppose. But this is quite an important step, I think. United are clearly getting the right noises and the right signals from Baleba's camp to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And he hasn't said no. So he's not definitely interested in the move, but he's certainly happy for these conversations to be happening. And as I said, it's only IndyCar who's talking about personal terms being agreed. I don't think there'll be a problem, but no one that we trust has said there's been personal terms agreed. Baleba wants out. He's put in a transfer request. No one that we trust has suggested that he's put in a transfer request. But that is exactly what Manchester United are trying to do here. And it's something I said in the live show, and it just happens more and more in football these days. It used to be called tapping up. You used to not be able to approach a club. Well, so you used to not be able to approach a player without the club's permission. And it's just not the case anymore. I don't know whether it's an outdated rule. I don't know whether it's actually illegal anymore. I think Forest accused Spurs of tapping up Morgan Gibbs-White because they knew about a release clause, which no one else did. So maybe the release clause itself was protected by an NDA or something like that. And actually worked because he ended up signing a new contract. But Baleba to United would it would easily be the biggest signing that United make this summer. And I would argue it'd be one of the biggest signings in the Premier League this summer. Amorim wants a midfielder. You know how we've been looking at, we've got Cunha in, and then we've got Mbeumo in, and then we went after Šeško. You're thinking, well, goals were our biggest problem last season. But in terms of the signing that's going to make the big difference to this team for Ruben Amorim is going to be that dominant, physical, athletic number 6 midfielder. And Baleba is your number 1. Now, if United get past this point, right? So let's go back here. And I was talking about how if United get enough of the right noises from Baleba's camp, then we're going to approach Brighton with an official bid. And at that point, the negotiations might stop. Because at that point, Brighton might just go, we want 130 mil, we want 120 mil. Just something outrageous and ridiculous to push United away. A bit like how Dortmund did when we tried to sign Jadon Sancho, and they just put in a mad number. It was 120 mil. We didn't sign him. Wish we didn't sign him the next summer after anyway. But it might fall down at that point. And if it does, then United will have alternatives. Because look, it's the 11th of August now. And if we're going to sign a midfielder and a goalkeeper before the window shuts, there's a lot that needs to happen. But Baleba, as I said, that right there, ladies and gents, is a 10 out of 10 window in terms of signings. Sales, it's a different conversation, but it's Manchester United. You know full well, I don't need to tell you about the problems that we've got with selling players. I don't need to tell you that this isn't the first summer for it, but I really hope that next summer is the last summer that it's an issue for our club. But this man here would make more of a difference overall to Ruben Amorim's team than Šeško or Cunha or Mbeumo. It would be the key, I would say. The amount that he would change Manchester United would just be unreal. Do I think it's going to happen? United want it to happen. And if United get their way, as I said in the intro to this video, then you will see a transfer request from Carlos Baleba. You will see him push for the move. You will hear it coming out through agents and intermediaries that he wants to join Manchester United. If United get that, it strengthens our negotiation position with Brighton, gives us a little bit of leverage, and it rocks the boat. Will it piss Brighton off? You're damn right it will piss Brighton off. But I don't think United and Ineos are going out to make any friends this summer. What they're trying to do is make a team that by 2028 can compete for the Premier League title. And it's very unlikely you're able to get there without pissing people off. Anyway, that's the full story of Baleba to United. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think we sign him? Man, if we do, we are having a party here on United People's TV, I'll tell you that.